From the center of the universe, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, this is the SDM Show with your host, Rob Cairns. The SDM Show focuses on business, life, productivity, digital marketing, WordPress, and more. Sit back, relax, grab your favorite drink, and enjoy the show. Here is Rob.
Hey everybody, I'm Rob Cairns. I'm the founder, CEO, and chief creator of Amazing Ideas and Stunning Digital Marketing. In today's podcast, my monthly co-host, Ryan Waterbury, joins me, and we talk about all the things that Automattic does right. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. This podcast is sponsored by Stunning Digital Marketing, the agency that can help protect your WordPress website today. Go to stunningdigitalmarketing.com and see what we can do to help you protect your business investment. That's stunningdigitalmarketing.com. Hey everybody, Rob Cairns here again, and today I'm with my monthly co-host, the one, the only, Mr. Ryan Waterbury. How are you today, Ryan?
I'm doing great.
Yeah, it's miserable here in Minnesota. Lucky you. And the Twins.
Yeah, we have this nice wind out of Alberta that is cool, to say the least.
Yeah, according to my brother who lives in Fort Saskatchewan, just outside Edmonton, it dropped like a rock. It's like -7 Celsius, do the conversion, i.e. below freezing and too cold. Toronto is windy and a little warmer for this time of year, but I'm going away next weekend, and that means it's going to rain. So you know how that goes, right?
Oh, yeah.
In our last podcast, you and I, rightfully so at the time, kind of took aim at Matt Mullenweg, and I should share it has been one of the most, if not the most, podcast listens that I've ever put out. So, thank you to that for all those people who listened and enjoyed our comments about our issues with what was going on in the WordPress community. And you had an idea that maybe we should talk about some things that Automattic does right this time around, just to help the ecosystem along. And I think they do a lot of things right.
I agree. And I think it was you that reminded me a while ago when I was first noticing and really seeing, some of the things I didn't like about Automattic come out. And you said, hey, you gotta remember all the things that we've got, like WooCommerce. And I had to sit back and think about it after our last discussion that there's a lot of good things that Automattic does. And one being the largest funder of the .org WordPress project and largest contributor.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that being one, but we wouldn't be here without Automattic. I mean, plain and simple. The advancements and the tools that they give out in a baseline. Now they're freemium. There's that, but they are free to start with. And if you're a developer, you can take off and do some pretty awesome things.
Yep. And there's some amazing people working for Automattic. We have to understand that. People like Rich Tabor, people like Nick Diego, people like Birgit Polyhack over at Gutenberg Times, if that's your thing. I mean, I love Birgit. There's a lot of Matthias Ventures, the lead Gutenberg lead, and the list goes on and on. And we're lucky to have those people as contributors on support.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when I kind of took shots at Automattic. It was I think directed at Matt and his behavior, but honestly, he's been a pretty big proponent and vocal advocate for open source software, not just WordPress, and been active in being an advocate for democratizing publishing and allowing everyone to have access to these tools, which
Yep.
I think is fantastic. And the open source route and method is absolutely the best way, in my opinion, to offer tools to the masses. And so, I you're right. I think it's time to give some kudos where they're deserved.
Yeah, I would agree. I was thinking, earlier today, I was looking at 6.4, and I was kind of looking
Mhm.
at what was going on. And I have to tell you, the paper I was looking at was a paper from a document from a well-known contributor, Anne McCarthy. I'm sure you know Anne or know of Anne. She's
Mhm.
been around a long time. She does not do X or Twitter, but she certainly does LinkedIn. And she has a document she actually shares with many prominent people to kind of keep people in the loop on what's going on. And like that's just one more thing. Like I was reading it, and I've had Ann on the show. I've had many members of Automattic on the show, and I think they do a lot of good things. And not just in the WordPress space. Like my favorite podcast player, for example, is Pocket Casts, and you're on an Apple. So if you do podcasts, you probably do Apple Music or Apple Podcasts, I bet. But Pocket
Mhm.
Casts for me works really well. And Automatic rescued that product from NPR. NPR had run it into a ground and wasn't doing anything. And Automatic's done an awesome job with that product.
Yeah, another one that doesn't get a lot of attention, and I'm honestly not active enough on it, is Tumblr. Uh,
Yep.
you know, the when we look at social media and the mass exodus from the demographics that left Twitter X, a lot of people re started their Tumblr accounts and started being more active there. In addition to that, ActivityPub is another project to you know, federalize all the social media apps and allow them, sharing in between each other.
Yep.
And you start to look at these projects and step back, and you put WordPress to the side and you look at all the other awesome things that Automatic has their hands on. And there's a lot of good things out there.
Yeah. One of the projects that they do that's kind of changed my life a little bit is a project called the Day One Journal. It's probably one of the top journaling apps on there. A shout out to Kristen Wright, who's one of the marketing people over there who I've gotten to know quite well. I was doing journaling. It's funny, I've journaled for years. So I went through a spiel where I was doing daily journaling in believe it or not, in paper journals and bound books. And then I switched about 4 years ago to a Google Doc just because I like to throw things in my journal when I'm on the go and not at home. I always had the book. And I did a podcast with Kristen about journaling. I guess it's been about 6 or 7 months ago. And that app in its loan has totally changed the way I do journaling. So what I do is I write journals, I throw pictures in, you can add pictures from your smartphone. It makes it so easy. And most people don't realize Automatic owns Day One Journal. It's just another way
Mhm.
to democratize publishing and talk about all the good things going on there.
Yeah. I started out talking about WooCommerce, and
Yep.
I still think I, we talked a little bit ago about how there's starting to become some competition out there, but WooCommerce is still the de facto standard for e-commerce on WordPress. And now with the high performance order storage, that was one of the biggest complaints is we need to get away from the post table and do something different if you want to play with the big boys. Well, they finally got around to it last year and listened, and I was very happy to see that they've decoupled. Although they're still allowing backwards compatibility, which is fantastic, but they're getting serious about e-commerce. And for the complaints that I've had about WordPress going the direction of Wix, I look at WooCommerce and they're going the opposite direction and really looking at more enterprise level e-commerce. So that gives me a little faith and wanted to give a little shout out that they're doing some good things that are in the other direction than we've seen WordPress swing, and that WooCommerce is becoming another flagship tool and e-commerce platform again. It
No, I would agree
it was
with you.
kind of yeah. I mean, it was kind of even though Shopify has a smaller market share, it was starting to be overshadowed by the ease of use with Shopify, and starting Shopify has really opened up and become a little bit more flexible. So it's nice to see some development and some thought and attention to WooCommerce, and some development of those tools that are necessary in order to stay in the market.
No, I would agree with you 100%. I think the biggest thing with WooCommerce is the flexibility, and that's the big reason not to go to Shopify. And we all know if you go to Shopify, you can't go with the basic plan to get anything done. And so the old story is, do you pay on the front end or the back end? I would rather pay on the front end and get some flexibility and than not.
Mhm.
And the other big thing about Woo is you own your data. Your data is stored within. So if you're privacy concerned, you have control over your data. With Shopify, you certainly do not.
Oh, absolutely. And speaking of another application that Automattic owns, Mail Poet. Uh,
Yes.
we both used it and had our struggles with it, but that was another acquisition that Automatic made, which it was a smart move and another solid strategic move to allow people to own their data.
Yeah.
Mailchimp just last year was purchased by Intuit QuickBooks. They raised prices right off the bat. They raised prices in the spring. And just recently, everyone who was on a paid plan said, please keep this under your belt. We're going to be raising prices in about 2 weeks again. And they own your data if you built all your things on there. So
Yeah.
uh, that's one of the nice things about WordPress and the ecosystem and the other open source tools. You're not tied to a SaaS product out there.
Mhm.
You own all the data, all the content, and that's what makes these tools absolutely wonderful.
Yep. And frankly, if you're using self-hosted WordPress, look at all the businesses because of Automatic's involvement that have been based on it. Yours and mine. All these hosting providers, everybody from WP Engine to Cloudways,
Mhm.
all the plugins, all the software packages, all the packaging, all these businesses. So, where would they all be without Automatic's involvement? Probably nowhere, to be honest with you. So, it sounds like I don't think we were harsh in the last episode we did together. I think we just had some strong
Uh,
feelings, and we did.
yeah, I think.
But
Mhm.
but um, we're pretty lucky. And one of the people I adore in this community is the WordPress executive director, Giuseppa. I will say that,
Mhm.
and I will say that over because that lady has a smart head on her shoulders, and she makes our jobs easier.
Oh, absolutely. And she's got a tough job looking after Matt. We'll give her that too.
Yeah,
Uh,
that is
um,
true.
yeah, in our last episode together, I think those are fair criticisms of some things that need attention in the community, but there's a lot of good that comes along with Automatic and Matt Mullenweg and the history with WordPress and all the products around um, Automatic in general. I think they offer options for people that wouldn't necessarily have an option to start out with.
Yeah. You
Um,
still
adding,
you still have options with the move to blocks. Like you can Go to
Mhm.
Gutenberg and play in that sandbox, or you can keep using a conventional page builder like Beaver Builder or Elementor. There's
Mhm.
nothing stopping you. The options are still there. If you
Right.
go to like a Wix or Weebly, you're stuck running their option and you have no choice in that one. So again, there's no choices. The biggest thing that Automatic has given us is options.
Absolutely. The flexibility is fantastic. I was reading an article that, and this is years ago because it's not exactly the case anymore, but it turned a lot of bloggers into developers back in the day
Yep.
when you could add a couple of lines of PHP to your functions.php file for your theme and add some cool functionality. And before you know it, you're writing a plugin and customizing more things.
Mhm.
And WordPress is one of those platforms I think that has grown a lot more PHP developers out there than most any of the other platforms. Even with their move and shift towards React, which I'm starting to come around to a little bit. I'm still more comfortable with jQuery, but honestly, that's another thing that WordPress and Automatic's direction said, hey, Facebook's doing it. We're gonna make sure that they stay the open source with React, and we're gonna use it. I'm glad that they put pressure on Facebook. In 2017, one of the core team members was on a panel, and there was a lot of complaints and concerns about React being closed source because at the time it was going to remain as such by Meta or back then Facebook's decree. And Automatic came around and said, "Hey, we want to use this, but you need to open up the licensing to be GPL." So
Yep.
there's a lot of good things that happen that are in the background that are small little improvements that everyone benefits. And React is a framework that is used not just in the WordPress community, but it's one of the more notable and widely used JavaScript frameworks out there.
Yep. While you were talking, and sorry to any viewers, I was just bringing up a website called Audrey Capital. And for those who don't know, that's Matt Mullenweg's investment arm. So it's away from Automatic at audrey.co. And it kind of lists out some of the places where they have put investment over the years. And believe it or not, it's everything from Nord Security, which
Hmm.
makes NordVPN, to graphics companies, to open source companies, to you name it. And there's, believe it or not, they've even put money into SpaceX. Believe it, isn't that incredible
That's
when you,
amazing.
yeah, so there's money all over the place. And these are life-changing things, and some of it's not, but here's one: Joyride Pizza, a pizza company in Detroit. I mean, Matt Scott has done a lot of good for the world when you look at some of these investments. Telegram, an open source telecommunications program. I mean,
Oh,
and
yeah.
people don't realize this kind of stuff. It's just amazing.
Well, you talk about messages, another open source platform that Automatic just purchased and
Yep.
salvaged. I think adding in more open source tools like that. I mean, when we talk about messaging, I mean we have the pissing match between Google, Android, and Apple
Oh
with
God, that
yeah,
disaster.
yeah. With are you in a green or a blue chat bubble, and can you use the proper emojis and all
Yep.
the functions. When I saw that purchase a few days ago, that made me think, can Automatic put pressure on these companies to come to an open standard and
Mm.
improve everything?
We got there with
uh,
email, didn't we? Email's an open standard, but
mhm.
which is good or bad. And chat seems to have been a non-open standard for years. Do you remember the days before the internet where we had things like MSN Messenger and Yahoo Messenger and
Oh yeah,
ICQ,
AOL,
ICQ, and
IRC.
and then there was a cool little program. I think it was called Pigeon or something like that, open source to interface all these chats. And I think we've gone that way again. Like it's just gotten crazy. There's like WhatsApp has its own standard, Facebook Messenger, and so on and so forth.
Mhm.
Um, just worth mentioning, I was just again looking at the Audrey Capital site. Do you know Matt's investment firm even has money in Calm, the number one meditation app on the internet?
That's interesting.
Isn't that ironic? Eh?
I would not have guessed that one.
No, me neither. It's just incredible. I
I-
mean, Angel List. I'm just reading names like, oh my God.
Well,
Like,
yeah, I mean, you talked about notable websites. Didn't NASA just unveil their new site based on WordPress? I
WordPress.
started looking around, and here's a popular one. NFL and music culture is raving about Taylor Swift's website runs on WordPress. I was really surprised, at that. Not, I mean, I guess not necessarily, but you look out in the world and WordPress, it does power over half the web, whether you want to admit it or not. It's out there,
Yeah,
and there's no questioning that it's become the CMS of choice.
yeah.
So yeah. So you look at all these things and all these sites out there and these tools,
Mhm.
and you look who's funding and pushing the development and shaping that.
Yep.
It's gotta give some credit where credit's due.
Yep. I was thinking you're mentioning NASA site. The big one we all know is the White House, WordPress.gov, whitehouse.gov, right? Is on a WordPress site, has been
Oh,
for years.
absolutely.
And
Yeah. Got the U.S. government, and it's at the federal level. I mean, the White House site, but
mm,
um, a lot of smaller agencies and local municipalities have been using WordPress for years
yep,
to host their sites, which is
no.
fantastic.
I think there's some big universities too. I think Princeton comes to mind for some reason.
Hmm.
If correct me if I'm wrong, and other ones like that, and more and more. And I was looking at a site yesterday, and it started with that D word called Drupal, and I'm just like, oh my god.
Honestly, um, that is one complaint after getting my dev gloves back on that I do have about WordPress. And I talked a little bit about some of the good things that WooCommerce is doing. But when we talk about database queries and
Yep.
repurposing data, Joomla and Drupal with views, honestly, had it down. And when Beaver Themer came out, I looked at that and said, "Oh, this is kind of what we've been missing when those tools started coming out." Um, so it'll be nice to see, after Gutenberg comes around and they redo the admin and the media library, and that team
Yep.
kind of gets their shiz together and things flush out to start looking back again at database structure, because I think that's the next thing that needs a little bit of an overhaul.
Yeah,
It,
I think it's coming. It's just a question of when, not if. So, but it will come. Um, Thanks for sharing some insights, as always. It's always appreciated. Somebody wants to get a hold of you. How is the best way?
you can find me on every major social media network at One Dog Solutions.
Mhm.
OneDog.solutions is the website, or email me at Ryan.Waterbury at OneDog.solutions.
And make sure you send the one dogs lots of doggy treats because they've been quiet today for a change. Have a great day,
Oh, thanks,
Ryan. Bye.
buddy. Yeah, you
Thanks.
too.
Bye. This show is brought to you by StunningDigitalMarketing.com, your Toronto leader in digital marketing services. Not only do we protect your WordPress website, we can help you with your site, provide social media management for your business, or even do one-on-one consulting. To find out more, go to StunningDigitalMarketing.com. A very special thank you to Ryan Waterbury for joining me on this edition of the SDM Show. Hey everybody, Rob here again. Thanks for listening to the SDM Show. It's such a pleasure to have you every week. If you want more on our agency website, go to StunningDigitalMarketing.com. We are your WordPress security experts. We'd be glad to help you out. If you want to learn more about me, Rob Cairns, go to meetrobcairns.online. From there, you can find links to everything I do on the web, as well as book time with me. So feel free. If you want to make comments about this podcast or know a guest possibly suitable for the podcast, please email us at podcast@stunningdigitalmarketing.com. Or conversely, you can go to X, formerly known as Twitter, and tweet at me at Rob Cairns. This podcast is dedicated to my late father, Bruce Cairns. Dad, I miss you very much, and I love you. Please join us next week for another interesting podcast, and have a great week, everybody. Bye for now.